Hi everybody, it's Russ from My Hammers 11. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the little bell icon so you're notified of any time we put new videos up. We've got loads of guests coming up, loads of great guests, including today. You hopefully will recognise him. He played 63 times for the club, scored 5 goals, I believe. It's Kenny Brown. Hi Kenny, how are you, man?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm very well, thanks.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on here.
Pleasure.
It's really great. In terms of what we're doing, basically, we're interviewing. Obviously, we've got nothing to talk about in terms of live football at the moment. So it's all about memories about West Ham, and obviously from your perspective, playing obviously for the Hammers, and also talking about the players you enjoyed playing with. Obviously, you came to the club in early 90s, 91.
Yeah, 91. Yeah.
What was your your fond memories of that time? Because obviously you played 5 years, you scored 5 goals, including that wicked goal against Man United, which cost them the league famously in '92. But in terms of from you, what's your your greatest memories of playing West Ham at that time?
Well, initially, when I first came, I came here on loan. Came into the club on loan. I was out of contract at Plymouth, but in them days, as the club offered they offered me the same terms as my previous contract. It was pre-Bosman, so I was still basically not contracted, but still associated with Plymouth. Went into pre-season, and Bill had a chance meeting with my dad, and there was injuries at West Ham, and he asked if I'd obviously come to West Ham on loan. I jumped at the opportunity. Fortunately, Plymouth agreed. Came in on the Thursday. Stayed at the old Swallow Hotel. Had first training session on the Friday, and then we had the Makita tournament at Highbury on the Saturday and Sunday over that weekend. So it was a very quick introduction. I had one training session with the boys, but straight away I think that initially it was. Obviously being a West Ham supporter and with the history, obviously with my dad there, it just felt like home. You came in, obviously the group of players it was a tight group, was welcomed straight away. Obviously Bill was the manager, Ronnie Boyce, Ernie Gregory, Paul Hilton, Tony Carr. That was the group. It's a little bit different now. There's obviously it's a bigger backroom staff. A lot more numbers, but then it was tight, and the group was tight. Obviously, predominantly British players, but it was just lovely to come into obviously an elite club and a club where obviously Dad spent many years.
Yeah, because obviously you were born just as he was moving, wasn't he? He was moving to Torquay, so you never would have obviously been around to see him play, but
no, unfortunately.
No, but obviously, you scored more goals than your dad, I think, in his career, and he scored
easily. I think he scored 2. I think I believe he scored 2, so I overtook him quite comfortably.
Yeah, and he did about 400 on appearance or 380 or so. Yeah, you did well in there. But I mean, it must have been. You must have been, you probably get this all the time. It must have been daunting, obviously, being a West Ham fan and having association with your dad. You coming in, it must have been sort of. I don't know, daunting, that's the wrong word, but it must have been pressure on you.
I didn't feel it at the time. No, I felt it was more excitement.
Yeah. Okay.
The opportunity. Obviously, I was in the old, what is now the Championship.
Yes.
With Plymouth, I had 3 seasons with them. Played a lot of football and
played a lot of games.
Yeah, really enjoyed my time down there. But it was time to move on. It's a long way from anywhere.
Yeah.
But obviously, coming into West Ham, we're obviously coming into what is now the Premier League club. Obviously, with the history and the levels obviously jumped up. You could tell that from that first training session on the Friday. So it was more excitement. I wanted to challenge myself. I believe I was 23 at the time, so it was great for me to come in and obviously see how far I could get. And luckily, I spent. Really 6 seasons at West Ham, obviously with a lot of players and obviously with the little change of management, but realistically we had I only really played under Bill and Harry there, so there was stability there.
Yeah.
But in general, listen, it wasn't so much daunting. I didn't feel pressure.
Yeah.
I was welcomed straight away
Of course.
from day one, and that obviously broke, any doubts I had in my mind.
Yeah.
And like I say, I had to go straight into a game on the Saturday.
Yeah, straight in it. Yeah.
And that was it. And as footballers do, you just get on with it and play. And fortunately, I got on well with the supporters and the group of players. So it was quite a smooth introduction.
Yeah, and as you said, straight into a tournament. It's like there's no dwell time, isn't it? It's like literally, especially coming up from Plymouth, in you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see. and it's one of those things. Obviously, when you around at that time, obviously we went down, came up, and stuff like that. There was, as you said, there was some fun times, definitely. Obviously, I think because you sort of you were playing when I started my West Ham sort of fan career, so it's like that sort of. So my greatest memories were like sort of 92, 93. We went up and the game against Sheffield United, Cambridge United, and Clive Allen. Obviously, I've never seen anything like that happen since, really.
Yeah.
I remember saying to one bloke, I was on the West Stand lower, and I remember so vividly this sort of rope ladder came flying from the top tier, and people were climbing down the rope ladder before the stewards took it. Absolutely mental. But obviously, great memories and stuff like that. But in terms of you, obviously, 6 seasons there, you obviously played with lots of great players. As I said, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people sort of 11. So the type of players. So for a lot of people, obviously, it's the people, their fans' favourites, but you have a slightly different perspective. Obviously, players you played with and maybe you have a better association for. So it'd be good to get an idea of that. So, if you pick your 11 that you played with, who would be in goal for you?
Well, I only really played, even though we had keepers there, but at that time, everybody knows Ludo was the main man.
Yeah.
And not just as a goalkeeper, obviously 6'5", 6'6", so athletic. Used to be the first out to train, be the last in, but a lovely man. And he was obviously at my time there, he was the main number one keeper. I was fortunate enough, the late Tony Parks was there, so Tony was a great character. Played us some games, but like I say, Ludo was always the main one. It's not really hard, and
pretty much.
And again, he was and not just because he was the number one, but he was a decent goalkeeper.
Yeah, and a lovely guy, as you said.
Yeah,
and I think he's one of those guys who he comes up regularly in these conversations because for people in my era, God, but people like early to mid 90s, Ludo was Ludo, and it was
it was Ludo. Ludo. Absolutely.
All right, so put Ludo between the sticks. What about left back, Kenny? You're going to put left back.
It's not a hard one, is it? The best player I've played with, no question. Obviously, Julian. Was when I first came. I remember when I first came in, and Julian was actually training with the kids in the indoor gym, and Bill. And at the time, the only way to view it inside, there was a little window at the entrance door. So Bill put his head to the door and have a look through there. And there was obviously Julian was in there with a brace from basically his hip down to his ankle, and he just said, spoke so well of him. And he just said, when he comes back, it changes the whole dynamics of the team. So came back. I played, obviously quite a few games with him, in place of him after he got suspended. He had a mad year, I think, where he kept getting sent off, and I kept falling in at left back to take his place. But listen, he was the only real player that you look at, and he dominated games from left back. He created goals, scored goals, and you always felt in the dressing room when he was in the team, and he was sitting next to you. You always felt you had a chance. And I was close with him off the pitch, but first and foremost, he was a wonderful footballer.
And you're right. There's not many people in any fullback position who could run a game from a fullback position. Do you know what I mean? And get the fans off their seats. It's not the most glamorous position, as you know, Ken, in terms of that. But you know, as you said, and he's just everyone says the same thing so highly.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing
football,
new you can say about Julian. You know, everybody knows. Anyone that watched him knew his value to the club, and you know, I think the fans really bought into him, and you know, he loved all that. So it was he's outstanding left back.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, who's going to go? Let's go right back, Kenny. Who'd go in your right back?
Obviously, apart from myself,
I was about to say, you're going to put yourself in. Like, yes,
listen,
right.
no, at the time, obviously Timmy Baker was there, and when I first came in, we had, like I said before, we had quite a few injuries at centre half, and Timmy played as a sort of a right of a back three. So when I first joined, we played wing back, so I was a right wing back. Timmy Baker was pushed in, but it was Timmy was obviously the mainstay as a right back.
Yeah.
So fit, and just so there was just everything about him. You know, he trained well, but he was so consistent in his games. Great lad. Also, when he wasn't in the team, you know, great support.
Yeah.
But you know, Tim was an excellent fullback.
Yeah.
Obviously a different player to me, but was you know, backed up many games, and I believe he was Bill's first signing, and I don't think he could have picked a better one.
No, ain't bad.
And I know Potsy played at right back at certain times, but I've sort of pushed Potsy central because he played most of his football with me anyway, as a centre half, and done that excellent. So yeah, I'd have to say Timmy Baker,
put Timmy
right back.
Exactly. And obviously he was when he left the club, obviously he left to QPR, didn't he? With
that's right.
Not bad, but I say Tim. I mean, to be honest, it's like now we're obviously haven't got any live football. Everyone's watching all the old season reviews and stuff, and you forget how many goals Tim Baker scored. He scored quite a few, and it's like I've got his newfound respect.
Yeah, I think he was an all-round. He was because he was so athletic.
Yeah,
right. He could join an attack. He was obviously, you know, physically he was strong. So, you know, defensively he was good. He was quick, decent in the air. He was, you know, great character. And like I say, he was just so consistent.
Yeah, that's the right consistency, exactly. Right, okay, we'll put Timmy on the right. So we're going to have Potts in the centre then.
Yeah, I got to put Potsy in there.
Yeah.
You know, again, 5'8", something like that. I might even be, you know, being kind to him there. But yeah, Potsy played, you know, at centre half, and again, model of consistency. What he lacked in height, but just read the game so well. Very rarely got caught out, and you know, he'd done the very basics really well. Didn't complicate his game, and again, so steady, and again that calming influence.
Yes,
which you need, and the way obviously that we played at the time. He was obviously a mainstay of the team throughout his time. Once he broke into the first team, he was there, and like I say, again, he could play right back, you know, centre half. You could put him you could have played him anywhere, and he'd still play that consistent player. And again, a lovely, quiet lad off the pitch, but nice fellow, really good teammate.
Yeah, and never a hair out of place. Always had that
beautiful.
I know,
sickening.
Exactly. Even more so for me now. Right, who's going to partner Potsy at centre back then? You know?
Well, this was I was thinking about this because obviously Alvin and Gailey, both there, and a little bit later, obviously Slaven and Mark Reaper came. But I'd have to look at either Alvin or Tony. Not a regret, but obviously I wish I had the opportunity to play with both of them when they were probably at their prime a few years earlier. They were both late in their careers. They both struggled with injuries as well, probably more so Alvin. But between the two, I'd slightly go, because we've got Potsy, I'd probably go with Alvin.
Yeah.
Just for his leadership skills, and again, he was a wise head. He's had the stature, knows the game inside out.
Yeah.
And it was someone you looked up to. I very much looked up to Alvin. Obviously, his career was fantastic. England international, you know, game after season for West Ham, and again got on well with him off the pitch. But he was again really fit, lean, as you see him now. Looked after himself, and like I say, it was just a shame that the injuries probably caught up with him.
Sure. Yeah, no, totally. And as you said, just dependable, solid. You know what you're going to get. From a fan's perspective, when you knew he was going to be a 7, 8 out of 10 every game, and rarely made a mistake. And if it did, because he was trying so hard, the fans wouldn't get on his back. And that's obviously for West, as you know for yourself, Kenny, from a West Ham perspective, that's what they want, isn't it? They want someone
absolutely.
to give their all.
And like I say, later on, I think, and it was 2 signings from Harry with Slaven and Mark Reaper, because both were excellent, excellent additions. And there was always that. We knew that the centre halves, obviously were coming to an end, or towards the end of their careers. Didn't particularly, I don't think we had anyone up. Unfortunately, Simon Webster, who we signed, got injured quite quickly, and couldn't fulfil that. So I think we're always looking for them sort of players, and both Reeps and Slaven came in, and were excellent for the club. And two really good signings. And again, if I'd maybe played longer with them, either of them two, then yeah. I think I'll go with Alvin.
No worries.
Yeah, definitely.
That's good. All right, that's nice. Solid back 5 there, I think, including Ludo. Right, okay. Let's go midfield. We'll try and keep it 4-4-2 because I'm crap at video editing more than anything. Right, let's go for the left wing. Who would have on the left wing then, Kenny?
There would be 2 players who I was really looking at, and that was Mark Robson and Stuart Slater. I'm going to go with Chopper, with Stuart. I look back on, especially that season, my first season at the club. He obviously, that was his final season. My first season was his last season, really, before he moved to Celtic. But he just had this, and looking back on footage, he just glided over a pitch, and I know some of the older, viewers, listeners will obviously look at Alan Devonshire, the way he glided and moved inside out. And Chopper was probably a little bit more tight to the ground, but you could see that he could go either way. Again, a very quiet lad, but loved football, loved the game, and he was one of the players that when we played, like I say, on that first season, he's the one you'd want on your five-a-side team. Just really, just lovely to watch. He was brilliant to watch, pleasing on the eye. Created loads of goals. Created a couple of my goals as well. So I think Stuart Slater would just edge it. But again, Mark Robson in that year, the following season when we did go up. Mark Robson was prominent in us going up. We played 4-4-2 with Robbo on one side, and we'll go on to the other player next on the other side. But they were strong, had great seasons, and a big reason why we did get promoted.
Yeah, totally. All right, we'll go to the other wing then. Kenny.
So we go Chopper. Quite an easy. Well, I say an easy one, but Kevin Keane. I think anyone that played with Kev would put him in there. It'd be in their top 11. Just again, someone who loved the game. Anyone that can remember watching him play, never always wanted the ball. Didn't matter what the scoreline was, how he was playing, didn't bother him. Always wanted to be created. Always wanted to look forward. And again, was a thoughtful player. I used to enjoy him playing in front of me, or at times when I played in midfield. I remember playing one game and I played centre midfield with Kev. So there was me and him in the middle of the pitch, and it was just you just learn off him. You balanced off him. He had loads of energy, and he's another one on a Friday when you'd had 5 sides. You just wished he was in your team because you knew you were going to win the game. But he was excellent. Again, he had a massive season the year we went up.
Definitely, absolutely, definitely. Lovely. Okay, brilliant. All right, so we'll put Keane on the right. What about the middle? Who we go in the middle then, Kenny?
First one would be Bish.
Yeah.
Probably the most. I wouldn't say underrated, because I think a lot of players and supporters loved him, both at West Ham and Bournemouth, Man City, the clubs he's been at.
Yeah.
Everybody knew his worth. Unbelievable character, brilliant character. Got on well with him straight away. And again, looking back on not just his football, but he had everything.
Yeah.
And he used to take some stick from opposing fans, later on from home fans. Didn't bother him. He just got on, and everybody knew how good he was.
Yeah.
Brilliant character around the place. Great in the dressing room. Training ground, bundles of energy, loves, and just someone who you'd want in your dressing room and in your team. And like I say, top footballer. Play off both feet. Always wanted the ball again. Made us play. Didn't shirk anything. Had a full range of passing. Scored goals. He was an excellent footballer and a top bloke.
Top bloke. Yeah. That's what comes across. As you said, he seemed to be a real good guy to have around the team in the dressing room. Like, it seems to be he seems to be a right old giggle as well. And you see his interviews and stuff, and he's obviously he's got a podcast with his boys.
That's right.
Which is quite funny. Which is really good. Right. Okay. Yeah. Who's going to partner Bish in the middle then, Kenny?
Well, again, I think there was two slightly different players, but I've got Martin Allen and John Moncur. I'm going to sway towards Monks, even though I think a lot of people didn't feel they could play together. Monks and Bish, but again, Monks was very similar. Had a little bit more aggression in him. But a fantastic footballer. Played against him a lot. And then when he came to the club, so you know how good he was. And when he did come into the club, you realise under his nose, unbelievable character as well. Again, every minute he came in, he lightened the place up. He was definitely, he energised the place, along with Bish. Great character, and again, another one that you'd sit in the dressing room and you look around and you're looking at the Julians, and like I say, with Bish, Monks, you always felt you had a chance. Felt that something would happen. And he was great at getting players up, getting up for the game. And again, stories that I think they're some of the stories that come out of Monks and away from football or away from the pitch, should I say. Everybody hears about him, but he was just a proper character. And unfortunately, I think them characters are missing from the game now.
Totally.
Rightly or wrongly. Don't know whether they could survive in today's sort of social media frenzy. But I look back on times like that, and that's what made the dressing room. And again, your memories of my time at West Ham, a lot of it is how them players made you feel, and how what that environment was like. And they were prominent figures. And again, I touch on Martin Allen. Exactly the same. An absolute, didn't know what he was going to do. Didn't know, what he'd be turning out. He'd turn up into training in a cravat, and come training. But again, trained really well. Unbelievable footballer. Again, played against him. You knew his worth, but didn't quite know just how good he was until you played with him. And very, again, fit, scored some great goals. Remember the goal at Arsenal towards the end of the season when we won there. And again, he enjoyed his football, and that for me that's important. I look at it, obviously in my role now, but I look at it where I want players enjoying football. They've got to have a love for the game. And all them players that I've mentioned already, they all loved it. They loved the playing. They loved training. They loved playing, whether you won or lost. And again, every single one of them loved the club. So it was brilliant for me. And two big characters. But I'll sway with Monks. just slightly, because I'd love to see him and Bish playing together. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be so much. And particularly those two, and surprising amount of skill. They're both really skillful players as well. Yeah. And as you said with John would take the first yellow for the team, whether he started or not doesn't matter for John. But he was, and again, he was brilliant, wasn't he? I loved him. He was
again, I think that everyone bought into, John loved the club.
Yeah.
Monks, even though he grew up in Tottenham down the road, spent some years at Swindon, had some success there, but he really kicked on at West Ham, and I think it was a perfect fit for him and for the club.
Yeah, no, I agree. Brilliant, love it. It's brilliant, Kenny. Because this is like my era. Memories. So it's like, it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. Right, who are we going to have up front then?
Up front, I've got to put Frank in.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was there when his second time that he came back. Character-wise, personality, again, loads of energy, just energised the place. Everybody knew about his social life.
Yeah.
But it didn't get in the way. No. Trained. He didn't miss training. It did, there wasn't problems with him. Not that not major ones. I'm sure the managers had. I bet Bill and Harry had some issues with him at times. But again, on the pitch, unbelievable finisher.
Yeah.
And along with, I'd say the top finisher I was at the club with would have been Clive Allen.
Yeah.
I thought he was the best finisher that I've played with. But I think as an all-round player and someone in the team, again, who gave everything, you'd have to go with Frank. And again, I think what summed him up was obviously his last game for the club at home to that. I think it was Southampton.
Yeah,
and he scores a hat-trick, in the second half. And that just sums Frank up. He's a legend at the club. Everyone speaks well of him, and he made my time at the football club enjoyable.
Brilliant. Definitely. And who's he going to partner up front then?
Well, there was a few, but I look and let me have a check. It would be someone again who was maybe underrated, definitely not within the club, but Trevor Morley.
Yeah.
And Nigel was a fantastic footballer, knew the game, knew how to play the game. Great target man, could basically do everything as a forward. Wasn't the quickest, wasn't the tallest, but he was strong, he was intelligent, scored goals. Again, along with Bish, big characters, different, quieter. I got on well with Trevor, and fortunate enough as well when he left and went to Reading with Jimmy Quinn, who was the manager at Reading at the time. I went there on loan and played with Trevor again at Reading. He was exactly the same. Massive, brought so much to the team. And I know we wouldn't have gone up without him that season.
That's true.
But I know that he was a big player for West Ham. Well thought of in the dressing room. Again, a super character, really dry humour, funny bloke. So really, I look at that 11.
Yeah,
we've got some calmness at the back.
Yes,
probably
definitely.
Take Julian out of it.
Yeah.
But then the further you go forward, a little bit more extrovert the players get.
Yeah.
So
love
you
it.
can see where I'm going with it.
I can see it, definitely. Brilliant. Kelly, it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know obviously you're busy because you're doing, obviously you're still in the game. I know you're working for the club. We won't talk about
Go on, you can name them.
Millwall, but it doesn't matter. It's all right. It's fine. It's all right. But everyone, Billy Bonds, Millwall.
No, listen, there's been a lot of connection between.
There's been a lot of connections. A lot of connections.
But thanks for having me on. And like I say, I think it's always nice to bring back some memories.
Yeah, to look back at things.
I don't mind speaking about it, and it's
exactly.
It's been a pleasure coming on, mate. Thank you,
Kate. And thank you to everyone else for viewing, obviously, and watching. Please, you know what to do: like, subscribe, share, whatever you want to do. And until next time, guys, take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Cheers.